Comeback Player of the Year is defined as a player who has shown perseverance in overcoming adversity, whether in the form of not being in the NFL the previous year, a severe injury, or simply just poor performance. Last year we saw Ryan Tannehill win the award with the Tennessee Titans after having an season with the Dolphins the season prior. Then Andrew Luck winning in 2018 after not playing at all in the 2017 season. And Keenan Allen won in 2017 after tearing his ACL in Week 1 the year prior. It's a very difficult award to win because it usually goes to people who do good after an injury-riddled season. However, it is difficult to perform to one's same level after being injured for a whole year. Today, I will go over my top 3 candidates for Comeback Player of the Year for the 2020 NFL season. Aldon Smith took the league by storm when he was drafted by the 49ers in 2011 out of Missouri, having 14 sacks his rookie year and 19.5 in his second, being selected to the Pro Bowl and a first-team All-Pro. He seemed to be on the rise as one of the best pass rushers in the league and had talent to get to the Hall of Fame possibly. But after those 2 seasons of greatness, his career went downhill. Smith would be arrested multiple times, was even stabbed, suspended multiple times, and was denied reinstatement to the NFL after his lone season with the Raiders and was out of the NFL altogether in 2018. But on April 1st, 2020, Aldon Smith signed a 1-year deal with the Cowboys. Of course the Cowboys signed a person like Smith. The team would hope he would be reinstated after being out of the NFL for almost 5 years, and just a month and a half later, the league reinstated him and he was able to start his journey with Dallas. Talk of training camp was Smith versus Smith, that is, Aldon Smith versus Tyron Smith. One of, if not the best tackle in the game, as both were competing very hard against each other. Coach Micah McCarthy seems very happy where Aldon Smith is at right now. Happy enough that he started for Dallas in Week 1 against the LA Rams. In that game, to say Aldon looked great was an understatement. Against the finally healthy Rams offensive line, Smith was dominating the team, getting 11 tackles, a sack, and 2 QB hits. But besides the stats, Smith was getting past his blockers nearly every time, pressuring Goff and stopping the run with ease, as well as basically creating an interception for Chidobe Awuzie when he hit Goff. Here's what Chris Collinsworth had to say about Smith.
Aldon Smith has been fantastic tonight. I know the ball's come out so quickly that he really just has not had a chance to have a huge impact rushing the passer. This guy might end up with 15 sacks this year. I tell you, Al, he has been really impressive.
Although I think 15 sacks is a crazy amount, I understand what Collinsworth is saying, and I couldn't agree more. Smith looked dominant in Week 1, and to say that he won't do the same for the rest of the season would be a hot take. It's not like he played a bad offensive line as well. When he's healthy, the Rams O-line is one of the best in the league. On top of that, Goff was getting the ball off really quickly. So for Smith to do what he did in the first game of the year under those circumstances shows how special he is. Although Aldon's Week 2 performance was not as great, only having 5 tackles, he's still one of the front runners to win Comeback Player of the Year due to the opportunity he has in Dallas. The chip on his shoulder from his past, wanted to prove himself, and how talented he showed he still is, and will dominate as a scary defensive end for the Dallas Cowboys.
Cam Newton will win the MVP. The MVP award is always about narrative. Obviously, statistics help, but the narrative of Cam Newton coming back and going to that team and prevailing, having success in an offense that Tom Brady couldn't succeed in last year without any other major additions. They've added Cam Newton. He's going to be special. They're going to win the division.
Now on to Cam Newton, the $1.75 million man leading the New England Patriots. After 2 injury-riddled seasons, one in which he played 2 games, the other who played 14, the Panthers started 6-2, but after a shoulder injury, he finished the last 6 games 0-6. As apparent, he could not play with the injury, but tried to fight for his team. The Panthers finished 7-9 that season, and obviously missed the playoffs. After the 2019 season, Newton was released by the Panthers after not being able to find a trade partner. It was clear Cam was on his grind by his Instagram and looked to be in the best shape of his life. I mean, just look at him. A lot of teams are scared to sign Newton because teams feared he would decline due to the injuries. But the sad thing is, 35-year-old Joe Flacco was signed before him. The Bears were rumored to sign or trade for him, but ultimately traded for Nick Foles to compete with Mitch Trubisky for the starting job. Yeah, they Foles and Trubisky over a former MVP. Okay, Chicago. Anyways, Newton was finally signed by a surprise team, the Patriots, who just lost Tom Brady. Everyone was confused and asked, how will Cam and Belichick fit together? As Cam is kind of a character, and Bill just wants his players to do your job. And during the offseason, there were rumors Newton would not start for the Patriots, meaning Brian Hoyer or Jarrett Stidham would be the starter. But I never believed those, and Cam was announced the starter and a captain prior to Week 1. Speaking of Week 1, against Miami, Cam was spectacular in his first game back from injury, posting a stat line of 155 yards on 15 of 19 throwing for 0 touchdowns and 0 picks. Now you may say, besides completion percentage, how do you have a good game? Well, he provided something no Patriots quarterback has provided in the past 20 years. The ability to run. On 15 rushes, yeah, 15. Cam had 75 yards and 2 touchdowns, and even got a fist bump from Josh McDaniels. In the Week 2 Sunday night loss against Seattle, by the way, he should have bounced that outside, but also should have been a different play call. Cam was again amazing. He finished with 397 yards, 1 passing touchdown, 2 rushing, with 47 yards rushing, and an interception. I am a firm believer that if the Pats threw the ball there, they would have had a 10 times higher chance of winning, especially with the game their receivers were having. Now it is safe to say Cam Newton has brought a culture change to New England, as well as obviously a schematic change to diversify the offense. The former MVP looks to brighten his career back up with a huge chip on his shoulder after nobody wanted him and having to settle for $1.75 million. Yes, I know it has incentives. Cam is going to be hungry all season. With how big of a difference Cam makes for the Pats, I think he is a clear choice, potentially a number 1 choice for winning Comeback Player of the Year. My last candidate for Comeback Player of the Year is Ben Roethlisberger. There are some other players I thought of like JJ Watt, Matt Stafford, and Gronk, but I feel like out of those 4 total players, Big Ben will have the best chance of them all this upcoming season. As I mentioned in my How Good Are the Steelers video, Big Ben has a great offense around him, with a top 5 O-line, some great receivers, and a good running back in James Conner, when healthy of course, as well as Benny Snell being a good backup. Ben really has no reason to not succeed. As I'm writing this, Ben is coming off of a strong 3-touchdown Week 1 win, and in a Week 2 26-21 win against Denver, Ben had 311 yards, a pair of touchdowns, and a lone interception. He is a top 10 to 12 quarterback in the NFL when healthy, but last season, he obviously was not healthy. Ben injured his elbow in Week 2 last season and was out for the rest of the year. The team still managed to go 8-8, besides being absolutely carried by the defense. Imagine if Ben was there, minimum 10-6, and a playoff appearance for Pittsburgh, which would get rid of the Titans' historic run. That's crazy to think about, how 1 or 2 things can cause a whole season to be completely different. Going back to the Denver game, that game really helped prove my point about the amount of talent around him. Deontay Johnson racked in 8 of 13 catches for 92 yards and a score. Rookie second rounder Chase Claypool had 3 catches for 88 yards and a touchdown, but 84 of those yards came on that huge touchdown play. Juju had 7 catches but only for 48 yards, and Ebron went 3 for 43. Also, James Conner had 106 yards and a touchdown on the ground on 16 carries, with a 59-yard run basically clinching the game for Pittsburgh. Obviously, there's no definitive stats for the offensive line, but it is a consensus that their O-line is one of the best at protecting the quarterback, as well as blocking the run game. Going off of all that, Big Ben is too good to not perform, with the amount of talent around him at all positions on offense. Again, as I said in my Steelers video, Ben will lead the Steelers to the playoffs and have one of the better seasons in his career. Based off of what he has done in his career, Ben will be fine after the injury, has a huge chance to win Comeback Player of the Year. Now, which of these 3 do I think will actually win it? I think it will most likely be Cam Newton. I think his story of his injuries in the past 2 years, being released, being a former MVP left without a job for 3 months, and succeeding with the Pats as of right now, will land him his case as the 2020 Comeback Player of the Year in the National Football League. With all that being said, that is it for me, guys. Thank you for tuning in Fanatic Sports. I hope you all liked the video. If you did, please subscribe and hit the like button. It only takes like 2 seconds. Also, follow me on Instagram, @FanaticSports25, and on Twitter, @FanaticSports. Now, before I go, who do you think will win Comeback Player of the Year this NFL season?